it's Mrs. Hales here with another awesome art project. Today we are going to learn to draw a waterfall picture, and you can make it a scene from the United States, or you can make it a tropical waterfall. You can make it a waterfall set in whatever landscape you want it to be. Let's get started. There's a long history of trying to capture the beauty and majesty of waterfalls in art. This is a Japanese wood block print by a famous Japanese artist named Hokusai. This painting is by an American artist named Thomas Cole from 1847, and it's a painting of the Genesee River, either in Pennsylvania or New York. Thomas Cole went and sketched out in nature and then went back into his studio and painted in oils. He's also known for romanticizing landscapes or trying to make them look even more beautiful than they were in person. These next two paintings are by a Canadian artist named J.E.H. MacDonald, and he was alive and painting a little bit after Thomas Cole. I think this painting is from the late 1800s. He was originally a commercial designer, which today is kind of like a graphic designer. And then he kind of switched over to painting full time when he got a little bit older. His paintings to me look a little bit looser and a little bit rougher than Thomas Cole's, and they're not quite as romantic and dramatized beauty as Thomas Cole. So those are three different depictions of landscapes with waterfalls. One of them is a woodblock print. That's from the mid-1800s and from Japan. And the other two are from North America, but from Canada and the United States. And they're also from the 1800s. We're going to get started on our waterfall drawing now. We're going to draw before we paint. Today we're going to draw, and next week we're going to paint. And we might be able to add some color today as well. Your waterfall is going to show depth or perspective. So you're going to learn to create depth in a painting or a drawing today. You're also going to learn to make movement in a picture using lines. So those are two kind of principles of design that we're going to be using today in art. And of course, we're going to be using line, shape, color, composition. We're going to be using lots of the art elements we've been working with and some of the principles of design. Okay, let's get started. You need a 12 by 18 piece of white paper, and you need it tall and skinny in front of you, which is vertical. You also need a pencil, an eraser, and a black crayon or a Sharpie. You are going to draw 4 horizontal lines on your paper. The first line should be about 6 to 8 inches from the top. The lines at the top of your paper are closer together, and then as you move down the paper, they get farther apart. This is going to help us create depth or perspective. And then you need to draw some flowers, or plants or flowers or shrubs or trees or something at the bottom of your paper. Those are the things closest to the viewer of the picture. And then you'll have some mountains in the background. Now you're going to draw your waterfall or your river. So your waterfall or your river is going to come down from somewhere on that top line, and it's going to get bigger and wider as it gets towards the bottom of your paper or the viewer. I wanted to draw some like spray so it looks like a waterfall. So I drew kind of a wavy, bumpy line at the bottom. I wanted my waterfall to be coming from the mountains. It doesn't have to line up exactly with the waterfall on the rest of your paper. Now I'm going to draw some seas going opposite directions in each of my stripes. And these are going to make it look like my land is hilly and kind of gently sloping downward. These lines I'm drawing are going to show movement in my water, in the spray, and in the waterfall itself. They're not perfectly straight lines that go all the way from the top of one section to the bottom of another. They're just kind of little gently curvy, wavy lines. Now, let's say I wanted it to look more like a tropical jungle. I'm going to show you how I would draw more plants in here. So you could draw some really big, kind of oversized leaves. They can overlap each other a little bit. You could do the same plants down here, or you could do a bunch of different kinds of plants down here. Whatever you want to do is fine. You could also draw some plants up on the sections near where your waterfall is if you want to. I didn't do that because I just didn't. I thought it would be a little bit confusing. But if you wanted to put some plants somewhere in your picture, you could certainly do that. I'm going to just do a few here along the edge. Now, these are a little bit smaller leaves, so they're supposed to be maybe a tiny bit farther away in my picture. If you have time today, you can color in your leaves. You probably won't have time. I like to layer my colors. So in each of my leaves, I layered 2 different greens. It kind of covers up all that white paper that shows through in the crayon, and it makes your color look juicy and rich and more vibrant and just a better job coloring. All right, boys and girls, so let's review. You are going to draw on your paper vertical some mountains, some gradual hills, or a rocky incline. You're going to draw a waterfall or a creek, whatever you want to call it. You're going to have some plants in the foreground. Your waterfall is going to be in the middle ground, and in the background will be farthest away from the viewer will be your mountains. You're going to draw that in pencil, and then you're going to go over your lines with Sharpie or crayon. I drew in crayon so that you could easily see what I was doing on my camera. If you have time today, you can color in some of your leaves with green or yellow or blue or whatever color you want to make your leaves. If you don't have time today, that's fine. You'll have plenty of time next week to add color. We're going to use watercolor paint or crayons next week to color in the background. And I'm going to show you how with marker you can make the water stand out if you don't have watercolor paint. All right, today we used the principles of design movement, and you may have used repetition if you drew the same leaves over and over again. Or in the way that you drew your water, you may have used repetition. Another principle of design we used was emphasis. Definitely your waterfall is the emphasis of your picture. It's in the middle of your picture. It's got perspective or depth. You've got lines on either side of your waterfall. Those help create emphasis, and the lines in the middle that indicate the water. And the elements of art that we used today were line, shape, and space. All right, boys and girls, I'm going to leave you with a picture of Angel Falls. Does anybody know where Angel Falls is or anything about it? It is the tallest waterfall in the world. It is in a rainforest in Venezuela, and it is 3,212 feet drop. So it is a very tall, very long waterfall. I will see you next class, boys and girls.